Hi, everyone. I am Kim Miller. I'm the Executive Director and the founder of FemArt, and I am very excited about our interviewing a wonderful artist today by the name of MarthaLluch. She is going to be in our upcoming virtual show, Where the Wild Women Go. And we're so excited to welcome her. And this interview will allow the audience and the viewers out there to get to know a little bit more about her and get to understand a little bit more about her art style and a little bit more of why she creates. So we're looking forward to asking her our very first question. And that is, Martha, cultural influence. Have you found that creating here in Jacksonville, you feel that you are part of the cultural identity of Jacksonville? And how does your artwork impact local as well as global influence in our cultural identity?
Well, first of all, Kim, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to be able to share my work with you guys. And I love your question because, as I was telling you a little bit before, we moved from Miami to Jacksonville 2 years ago. And I found the cultural scene in Jacksonville, it's a hidden gem. It's so welcoming. It's so accepting. It's like I've started by knowing nobody. I found out one person, Tony from Creative Jacks, and he started connecting me to all these different artists, Tiffany Manning, Alma Ramirez, like all this amazing, inspiring women and artists. And I've just little by little, I'm starting to get to know everybody. And not only that, but they are welcoming me in their space to also share my own work, which I find it fascinating because I don't have a training as an artist. I'm an architect, but this is something I love, and having the opportunity to share that, I find it's incredible. Like, it's not something I've found anywhere else before.
That is wonderful. And welcome to Jacksonville. It's really great to have you here. And I think that's going to be the biggest advantage as well with our virtual exhibit, is that your art will be seen all over the world. So at any time, 24/7, which is a great opportunity during this hard time that people
Yeah.
are finding that it's hard to have that human connection. But we at FemArt are really excited because we did not expect to go global for quite a while. And here we are 3 years into our organization, and we're getting global awareness, which is fantastic. Now I would like to ask you a little bit more about what inspires you to do your artwork, and if you could tell us a little bit more about your style, what mediums you use, and again, most importantly, what inspires you?
What inspires me? I think one of the things that I've learned through my own training as an architect is inspiration can be found anywhere. There are no boundaries or limits on where to look for inspiration. Lately, though, in the past few years, especially since I moved here, the main sources of inspiration for me have been nature and the birds. I'm obsessed with the birds around here. And also archetypes and mythology and pre-Christian religions. I'm diving into that rabbit hole, and I find it fascinating and deeply inspiring. And the reason for that, and it has to do with the work that I do, it's because I use art as a way to process the world around me. I've been dealing with depression and anxiety for over 20 years. And also healing trauma. Art has been like the white canvas, has been that safe space where I go and process the things around me, what may be happening right now, how I'm feeling. And that is one of the reasons why I like to create art. The style, kind of like the way it's just turning out to be. I started with illustrations, like very little illustrations, the size of a Post-it. And the more I practice, the formats have started to grow. And my architect side, I always like to mix medias because I always end up like building little models or stuff like that, because I like to see things in 3 dimensions. Like sometimes certain feelings or certain situations will trigger me or propel me to explore these things in like 3D. So I like to mix. Lately, I've been learning a lot of digital illustration with the iPad because it allows me to go even larger format with a small space. Like I live in a small apartment, so that's also interesting. And I'm starting to mix what I do in digital and starting to intervene once again with like acrylics or markers or whatever. So that's kind of like a little bit of my style and the way I make art.
I love that. That is really wonderful. Actually, it's interesting too when I heard you talk about being a woman and about your anxiety and stress, and that becomes a source of finding art to be that kind of pacifier, kind of that
It's
it.
a safe haven. Like to me, it's a safe haven, and it's been critical to have these tools during this pandemic because it really has not limited or hindered my capacity to create. It's just reminding me of where I can go to deal with everything that's happening.
And that to me is so important, and that is something I think is really unique with a lot of women, is because of our unique experiences and our unique voices. And that's really important that we use art to kind of bring that peace and tranquility back into our lives by expressing our environment and what is around us that brings us peace, which I think our whole culture can use a lot more voices like that and a lot more visual aids to help other people that suffer from anxiety or depression or any of the things that can impact our lives in a detrimental way, that art can kind of bring that, not just in your creating process or creative process, but also in the viewer's eyes. So thank you so much for bringing that up. That is really important.
My
And
pleasure.
for my final question, I am just going to ask you, when you sit down to create, do you have a preference on what kind of a beverage you might have to get into that state of mind? Would you prefer wine or tea?
Actually, I usually work coffee or tea. So, yeah, my drink of preference is coffee.
Excellent. I love it. Well, for you, I wish you a
Cheers.
great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and can't wait to see your art in our upcoming show, Where the Wild Women Go. Here's to the wild Martha, and thank you so much for your time and the great words of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.